All right, welcome to another week of the Attorney Sekou Podcast, and I am your host, Sekou Clarke. Wow, what a week we have in store for you. So again, Attorney Sekou Podcast, when law meets life, stories turn into journeys, and journeys creates legend. And for the first time ever, I will be doing this segment for you with one of my good friends, Nayef A Mubarak, badass immigration attorney. But besides, we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about what went on in the last couple weeks. And first of all, the group chat that went bad, Textgate. We had President Trump and his war plans got leaked out to, of all people who had an issue with her text messages, Hillary. And it also got leaked to a media person, right?
Right. But somebody that they're in close contact with. So I think that was like an easy ad, you know.
So do you think somebody left the group chat or
I think that the person? Somebody was probably trying to copy paste, leak some information and accidentally added the person. But it's also intentional. Like you see them talking about, we're not giving any more money, and it's very much on brand for them. So I could have been a stunt just to show how people, even behind closed doors,
exactly,
this is what we're doing.
Do you think it's the same like when you're throwing a surprise for somebody in a group chat and then you actually add the person that you're throwing the surprise for?
Yeah, something like that. You're thinking about who you're going to tell or who you might be sharing that information with. Absolutely.
But this time it's like potentially like nuclear codes.
The nuclear codes, what time we're bombing.
Exactly. So also moving on, 520,000 people who were actually invited into the country have now been saying, hey, your time is up. You now have to go home. So you have people from Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua who entered legally under a Biden immigration plan. President Trump said, hey, the program is over. You now have to pack up and leave. And this was under the Biden parole program, right?
Correct. Yeah. The Biden parole program, even the Venezuelans, Cubans, huge amounts of people, especially in Florida, how many people, hundreds of thousands will be affected.
I know. So that's now like a bait and switch.
You paid for something, you were approved for something. I think this will have some major challenges for that to happen. Yeah.
Do you see any of them being successful?
Yes. I think this will be successfully challenged. The issue is it's only for like 2 years. By the time it might become moot by the time the court eventually decides on it. So.
Okay. So that's extremely unfortunate, but one of the big headliners over the last 2 weeks. And not only headliners we have right now, but now we have green card holders. I mean, in my entire life of practicing immigration law, this is the most I've had green card holders contact me and say, can I travel? Am I going to be let back into the country? Huge issue with green card holders.
I was about to ask you, how many emails did you send yesterday? I stayed late night last night typing out a template about just the travel, and it's unfortunate that we're at this stage, but people are freaking out, and understandably so.
It's crazy, but not only green card holders. Now you have, it's about to be the summer, and now you have people from Europe who, I mean, U.S. has now potentially had an advisory warning for travel. Europeans, Canadians are now being held in the airport. Some are saying for days, some are saying for weeks. Why does this happen with the Trump administration?
I mean, I think they're fulfilling promises to some of their hardliners, right? And immigration is an easy clickbait. It's well within the president's like wheelhouse. So anything else that's happening, perhaps text messages, we get another headline, right? Yeah. Let's cancel these things, this Biden program. So it's a lot of
that's a good
shake and bake, you know?
But shake and bake for and hardliners for our neighbors, the Canadians. What have they done to deserve this?
You know, I don't understand tariffs that much. I'm not good at taxes or money. But I think it's a lot of let's renegotiate deals, right? And we threaten it, market tanks, then they say, okay, let's talk. So I think it's trying to get maybe agreements that have been set in stone to rework those details, which we know the president does like to do and has a history of being successful at. So
extremely successful at. All right, moving down the line. So the big question that I have been getting is the government, when you're entering the country, are they allowed to enter your phones? Yes. Whether you are a United States citizen, green card holder, or visa holder. The major difference is, what are the repercussions if you don't? If you're a United States citizen, you have two forms of inspection, right? You have the basic, where they can scroll through your phone,
right,
and then they can actually hook your phone up to
correct
plugs and everything and copy all the information.
Yeah, definitely. You have the right to say, I'm not giving you my passcode, but asserting that right is going to come with some consequences or repercussions. Delayed questioning. Ultimately, they have to let you in. You're a citizen, but they can take your device, and you might see it in a couple of days or weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. But what about the green card holder who says, no, you cannot go into my phone?
First of all, if you're a green card holder, a quick PSA in criminal history, no travel. We should not be having this conversation by any means. But same thing, you have the right to say no, but they can search your phone.
Yes.
They can detain you or question you, and they only cannot let you in if they've deemed you inadmissible. But even still, you have the right to see a judge. So it's a little bit lower level, but you still have some constitutional protections there.
Absolutely. But my rule of thumb to green card holders is, if you had any type of criminal infraction and you are thinking about travel, you really need to rethink that. Or if you were ever in removal proceedings or currently in removal proceedings as a green card holder, that is a big issue for you right now when you're entering the country.
Yeah, you should repeat that.
Yes, right? And last but not least, visa holders, right? So this is the third tier. U.S. citizens, green card holders, and visa holders, meaning you are entering as a student, you are entering to visit Disney World, or you're entering to play sports. If they ask you to see your phone, you have to. But the consequence, if you say no or you offer some type of resistance, is you may be refused entrance into the country, detained, and or sent home on the next flight.
Right. Not just sent home, visa revoked.
Yes.
And then, of course, if you do search your phone and they search your WhatsApp and you're coming on a tourist visa and you have a job lined up, a little bit problematic.
Yes. So. Yeah. In other news, Tiger Trump is now... I said Tiger Trump.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is now officially dating Vanessa Love, and he came up with, said, hey, love is in the air. What are your thoughts on that? Well, all I can say is he has a type.
Yeah. I don't know much, and I wish I had that's the kind of news I want to talk about. But everything else has been keeping us crazy busy. So
yeah. In other entertainment news, Diddy, as you know, he's been incarcerated for the last 8-9 months for a slew of charges. It seems like his luck is somewhat turning, because an attorney that has been responsible for representing a lot of the clients, he has now withdrawn from a lot of the cases because he is not licensed to practice in Southern New York. So he's also complaining that this is Jay-Z's fault. But again, if you got declined to practice in a certain jurisdiction, you can't be filing lawsuits in that jurisdiction. So who knows? Maybe Diddy
also might be, how much does he really want to be admitted, right?
Exactly.
A fake attempt, possibly.
Crazy stuff. And last but not least, we saw the Drake and Kendrick feud. Some people would say Drake got cheated and Kendrick won, but now we're seeing the Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James. I don't know, Kaylin, but what are your thoughts on this? Stephen A., he came over and said something. LeBron confronted him. Stephen A. said, hey, if he put hands on me, I would swing on him. I don't know how that matchup would go. I saw his workout videos. I don't know, but no, it's turned into a whole combat, and you have the LeBron haters and you have the Stephen A. So that's another one to watch for. But it has been an interesting last 2 weeks, and we have a lot to uncover. But I am super excited about this interview, about this guest, good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, trailblazer in the immigration world. So stay tuned. Woo! All right. To the long anticipated conversation we have here, and again, I've introduced him so many times, good friend of mine. I remember when I just started practicing immigration law, within the first week, I had lunch with my friend Nayef, and he said, these are the things that you need to do and you need to learn as an immigration attorney. And here we are, almost 8 years later.
Yeah.
I've been able to see Nayef grow his firm into a powerhouse immigration law firm here in Orlando and expanding also.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
First, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And including me in your political segment, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
But talk about that lunch and everything you've achieved. You guys need to know what you've achieved. It's really beyond impressive. So I'm proud of you and congratulations.
I appreciate it. I always tell my viewers, you have to have good mentors. You have to have good people who you can call and run things by.
Of course.
And even up to this day, I still call you and be like, hey, what's your thoughts? What's your opinion on this?
It's so needed. And if you have a business and you don't have somebody in the same line of work with you, you need to get one, because that's therapy, right? Somebody else understands what you're going through. And I've reached out to you about so many different ideas now too. So it's really crazy to see this full circle moment and where we are right now. So,
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So Nayef, your journey, right? I know you were at another major law firm and then you started your practice, and now fast forward, you're a powerhouse. What was that journey like from being an associate to now law firm owner?
First, I'd probably want you to define powerhouse. I think like you still think you're trying to get there.
Yeah.
But so when I started that first job, it felt like a dream job because it was a 2010 major recession. The only job offers I were getting were like $35,000 a year as a lawyer in New York for immigration, because I was dying to be in immigration. It's what I wanted to do so badly.
Yeah.
But so I got that job and I made sure to pay attention. My boss, he didn't do immigration, but he was very successful business owner.
Yeah.
And I just kind of paid attention to his behaviors and client satisfaction. And it wasn't until I went out on my own and 4% of the clients came with me.
Wow.
And it was amicable, of course. He kept the money, I kept the work.
Yeah.
But I took out a $25,000 loan to make sure I could pay my office manager. Never touched it. I'm so thankful every day. We paid the deposit for rent. And it's true. You will do what you have to do when it becomes your own baby and you grow and you love what you're doing. So it's been a crazy journey, and I still feel brand new. So when you think you've been practicing for 15 years, it's kind of crazy to reflect on it. So
nice. How long have you had your firm?
We will be at 9 years this June. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Thank you.
CEO and founder. It's a question I ask all my CEOs, right? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? In my opinion, the CEO is a visionary, the person who actually executes the strategy. The founder is a person who first came up with the idea.
Right.
But a lot of times they're not good at executing the strategy, finding the right people, coming up with systems, processes. Which one are you, and what are your thoughts on that? I'm
still trying to take off both hats. It's hard to do with your name on it, right? Yeah. But you do realize, I think I still have a CEO hat, because I know that I have to let go of certain things. And that's the realization I'm realizing. But the founder, you have the vision. You want to make sure the CEO is doing what you do. But whenever I am burnt out from the CEO activities, I spend time with my clients, and I'm like, you feel better. Okay, this is what I miss. You don't get that client interaction of who you're helping. And it's a good way to recharge when it's too much, dealing with team members or marketing, and it can be overwhelming sometimes.
Okay. So you're Palestinian-American.
That's right.
How was that growing up in Brooklyn, then moving to Florida as
Brooklyn?
a Palestinian-American?
It's funny that people ask me about it now a lot. But I was Palestinian since day one. There's pictures of me at protests since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Occupation of the Palestinian people is nothing new. So you spend your whole life kind of explaining that and understanding that there's a predefined interpretation of you, especially back then and when you were a younger kid. But I think it made me who I am. I think it ties to the immigrant journey. Today we see immigrants defined as something negative. I think for a long time, Palestinians defined as something negative.
Yeah.
I know that's not true about my people. I know it's not true about immigrants.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of, desire to set the record straight and display who we are, you know, our clients and my people, Palestinian people. You know, I'm American. I was born in Brooklyn, but you do carry this responsibility to make sure that people are aware of what's happening.
And I'm so glad that you touched on that about, you know, feeling like you have to dismiss or demystify the whole rhetoric about being an immigrant. And what I always say to my viewers, right? Yes, there is Trump, there is right, there is left, right? And it doesn't matter where you fall, because at the end of the day, we're still people, right? There's this notion now, right, that immigrant is automatically linked to less than, coming here to take,
right?
Came here illegally. And if you close your eyes as an American and you hear immigrant, a lot of times you're going to see the same person. But the biggest things that people like you and I try to demystify is that, I mean, immigrants come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I have clients that are European immigrants. Yeah. I have clients that are super successful. I mean, we do business immigration, and see the type of money and resources that immigrants do bring into the country. They do provide jobs, pay taxes, and the people that the rhetoric is highlighting, it's really a super small cross section of people.
The data shows which portion of people are criminals. And look, I think anybody is going to say, don't deport criminals. Yeah, right? Nobody's saying that. Right? The law does not allow us to represent criminals in so many circumstances.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't mean that everybody else is bad, right? Yeah. And it's a stereotype and a dehumanization that I connect with immigrants. You connect with Palestinians. Like, you're like, oh, so let me see if you're one of the good ones. You don't get that presumption, right? Especially as a kid. I mean, but I think it's all part of scapegoating, planning, and being able to get away with some of these violations or atrocities. You have to make the person you're committing them on less than. You have to make them not the same person as you. Yeah. So, I mean, but you're right. People don't realize how many people are different. Exactly. You have the neighbors calling me after the election. Hey, I want to sponsor my neighbor. He's a great person and he deserves to be in America. I'm like, okay, cool. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you know?
Exactly.
So we don't have this path of just signing off on somebody with good credit to be an American. So I think there's a lack of education when tying it back to both on the Palestinian issue and then on immigrants, where people don't realize how broken our system is, or how long an oppression has been going on.
Wow. So growing up Palestinian, do you think that has fueled you to who you are today as this attorney? Because, I mean, I see you fighting in court all the time.
I think it's hard for me to stay quiet when I see injustice, right? Yeah. I think it tells me you have to be persistent. You have to show up every day. I mean, this is something I've been living with my entire life, something my father, who's 70-something years old, has been living with his entire life. So ultimately, as long as we're moving forward, you got to get up and you got to do it. And it's called in Arabic, samud, like steadfastness. You just keep on your path and doing what you need to do. So
absolutely. Do you think Muslim and Arab attorneys, right, they're held to a different standard, especially when they're representing clients from high-risk countries?
You know, I think you get judged from your clients and from outside, right? So sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this Jamaican, like they're like, oh, I don't know if I want a Jamaican lawyer.
All the time.
Maybe I should get a white lawyer, you know?
Yes, a Jewish lawyer. I get it all the time.
A Jewish lawyer, get a white lawyer, get a Jewish lawyer. I remember thinking that was so odd when I started practicing. So I felt like any issues I've had with time and reputation, that's kind of gone away. And I have to say, the Orlando bar, whether you're with DHS or USCIS, or I've not had any issues at the Orlando level. Yeah. I mean, there's been an occasional attorney at a happy hour be like, you're one of the good ones.
Really?
You know, well, cool, thank you. Nobody asked for your permission and I don't need it. But as far as professionally, I can't say I've had any issues with judges or opposing counsels. There's been some incidents in South Florida, but you know, I can't complain about it, to be honest. It's funny. And my clients that are non-Arab, they're like, this guy can represent. I think they see the adversities faced as the ability to represent them, zealously.
Yeah.
And so that was a really nice kind of reward, surprise, unintended compliment I've received from a client before.
Interesting. And I'm glad you brought up that point where you have the people who said that, especially Arabs, like for me, Jamaicans would say, don't go with a Jamaican attorney, go with the Jewish attorney. And then I'd have the people who said, I'm going with you because you're Jamaican. And I always tell them, look, I don't want you to choose me as an attorney or choose my firm because I am Jamaican, because I look like you. I want you to choose me and my firm because of the results that we have produced, which speaks for itself.
Correct.
I can stand on it. We can stand on it. And I'm sure it's the same thing with you and your firm.
Now I think practicing 15 years, people don't question it. If they're coming to see me, if they're waiting for the appointment. I mean, I have, not that it should be surprising, but I have dozens of Israeli clients, and I'm usually like, despite everything that's happening, they hire me because people want results, right? People want to go with somebody they trust. And I always tell people, have 2 or 3 consultations. Immigration is a 3 or 4 year journey. Make sure you like your attorney because you're going to be seeing my face for a long time, right? So that's one thing I tell people all the time, and it's really important, I think.
Interesting. So now we're in Trump round 2.
Okay.
Right? We both did Trump round 1, and now we're here for Trump round 2. Which one of the policies thus far do you think has been the most... I'll ask you 2 questions on that. Which one do you think has been the most devastating or has had the most massive impact on your clients in your law firm?
Are we talking this round or first one?
This round.
Okay. This round, I think what you touched on in your headline piece about the revocation of 500,000 people's programs.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of that, they're really chipping away at everything. It's a much more organized, sophisticated effort at the immigration system.
Yes.
By taking away these parole program, you're taking away people's right to work. And they even said, if you came here lawfully and you have a U.S. citizen spouse and you filed for adjustment, your case is on hold.
Yeah.
So who knows how long that limbo is?
Exactly.
Right. And then there's consequences, right? What if somebody had a child who's 18 and is going to turn 21 soon? Are they going to now be separated for years on end because we couldn't get this done?
Yeah.
For me, as far as to travel, Trump 1.0, it would be the travel ban.
Yeah.
People years apart from each other, years and years. And then you had people, in sibling petitions, you wait 16 years for your brother to come.
16 years.
And then it comes and there's a travel ban.
And there's a travel ban.
And then now your kids who've been waiting 16 years have turned 21. I have an EB-5, $500,000 investment. That's how long ago, because it was from COVID 1.0 or COVID and Trump 1.0. We finally got the interview in January of this year.
Wow.
He's a citizen of one of those potential countries of the travel ban that's coming. So imagine putting $500,000 in this country, waiting 9 years, and then now it's your turn, and this might come.
So for context, people, right? You have an EB-5 investment program where an immigrant, at the time, can invest $500,000,
right?
Or
it was $500,000 and $1 million,
$500,000 and $1 million into the U.S. economy, starting a new or existing business that has to create 10 jobs, right? That person did that, so that person is going about immigration the right way, but also going an extra step in injecting into the U.S. economy, creating jobs.
And their income has been verified, right?
Yes.
Their money has already been approved. It's just stuck at the consulate.
And now that person may be significantly affected because they are from a country that has a travel ban.
And mind you, a country they've never lived in, but that's the country of their passports. So they've lived.
That is even wow.
So they lived, born in another country in the Middle East, and the most Middle Eastern countries do not give birthright citizenship. But the travel ban is based on your country of your passport and nationality.
Correct.
So whether or not this person has been to their home country is not relevant, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And that there's going to be no exception. So I mean, we'll see. I think this travel ban is going to be even worse. So my answer might change for you in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So,
And just to piggyback off that point, so as you know, North America is hosting the World Cup next year, right? And you have the US, Mexico, and Canada. On the recent travel ban that was just released, you have Iran that has qualified for the World Cup. So what will happen for the Iranian team? I mean, these guys have worked their asses off. And if they do go through to the second round, are you saying that they can't travel into the U.S. or there are going to be concessions because they're in the top tier of a full travel ban?
Right. There were very minimal exceptions last time. I think it was like in the national interest, I got possibly somebody a waiver one time.
Okay, so there are waivers available, but
in the executive order, super difficult. I think it's going to be up to FIFA and all these other things. If these other FIFA countries or start to protest, what's going to happen? That's not going to be possible. They're going to have to carve out an exception, I think. Yeah. But I always say now I don't know much of anything anymore because you can't predict.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So the other side of the question is, what is the most beneficial Trump policy that you have seen?
How much time do you have for me to for me to think? Look, I think we're a country that needs national security and borders, and I want to find a policy that is supported for the claim, right? So if there was improper vetting happening, I hope so. Then that's good. We are more secure today. But I don't know if I have an answer that's coming from actual substantive facts or the people that they're showing behind them in jail cells. Show us, is that somebody that came on a Biden program? Or is that somebody who came illegally? Yeah. So if they're catching people who came on a lawful program under the previous administration that are gang members, then we can congratulate them on that. Like, you can't fault them on that. Yeah. But we're just pictures of people. We don't know who they are. And to assume that they all came under the Biden administration. I mean, this president was just president 8 years ago. So they could have been here under his administration as well.
Absolutely.
So
that's actually a good point.
I think I still have optimism that there's going to be immigration reform. I know I sound crazy, but I think something will give with the southern border and the Dreamers. Okay. So we'll see.
In terms of beneficial policies under Trump, and we're searching for them where immigration concerned. Okay. The first one that comes to mind is the gold card, $5 million. I mean, allegedly, 1,000 got approved in 1 week, or 100 got sold in 1 week, but there's no application process for it.
I guess that's what I'm confused about. Because if we had, like he said during his campaign, green cards after graduation, that could be a beneficial policy. Yeah. High five. Yeah. Right? If we have actual process for $5 million green cards that and maybe are going to stimulate the economy, great. Yeah. But right now we are just getting headlines. There's no way to apply for it. Usually, in my understanding of the law, Congress would have to pass. You can't just give somebody a passport or access to our country for $5 million if we don't have a form or processing. What vetting is going into that? So sure, I'll keep an open mind, and gold card would be nice. Green cards after graduation would be nice, but I don't think that's officially passed yet. So until it does, then I'll still be searching for the beneficial.
Do you think it will replace the EB-5 program?
I think they're going to try to do that. So EB-5 is set to sunset September 2026. So we're thinking that they'll probably have to modify those visas into that program for the $5 million one. So that's what people in the EB-5 world are rumoring to possibly be happening, or worried will happen, because we have these industries that have been around for 30 years that might just go away.
All right. So you help people fight for their lives. You help people fight for their families, their futures. But what's the case that haunts you, right? What's the emotional toll that practicing immigration law today has on you?
I think it's great that you use the word emotional toll. I know you probably don't sleep great at night, right?
That's very true.
We have a lot of responsibility on us, and people's lives, their dreams, their hopes, I don't take that responsibility lightly. So I think the emotional toll shows on my cortisol levels. And when I go to the doctor, I think it's very hard to not allow it to affect you, because we're with our clients so often and they become close friends and family. But we also have to accept it's part of the job. You're not going to win everybody. But one case that stays with me was Trump 1.0. There's a transitional center, an immigration detention center called Broward Transitional Center, BTC. You get sent there, especially back then, good luck getting a bond.
Yeah.
And people with driving while license suspended were considered dangerous criminals to the community. So I had a young man who was from Mexico whose parents brought him here at the age of 5.
Yeah.
He was also the breadwinner for his family. And the only reason he had DACA is because he couldn't afford it. And he paid for his sister's DACA, right? That was what they told me at that time. So you have probably 19, 20 years old, and he has like 3 driving without a license. Gets picked up. They get transferred to Broward Transitional Center, and he has a fiance. He has a child. He's been here for, like I said, probably 15, 16 years. He doesn't even speak Spanish. And I was like, I need to win this case.
Yeah.
And I called witnesses inside the jail. We had to do like the final hearing, the individual hearing inside BTC.
Yeah.
So we presented witnesses. We presented everything. Like I brought them all through the jail to testify. And it was a particular judge who's, you could look up his rates and know that maybe I was being too optimistic to think that we had a chance. And judge said, probably one of the best cases I've seen. Congratulations. Case denied.
Wow.
So, and my compliments to you. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, he's like, oh, you seem upset. I'm like, yeah, well, we didn't win and my client's being deported to a country he doesn't know. He's like, it's not about winning or losing. It's just the law is the law. But legally speaking, he was eligible for everything under there. So it came to discretion, which is that standard of would his child suffer exceptionally, extremely unusual hardship, which case law says family separation is not enough. They want to see, I don't know what they want to see, like somebody's on a feeding tube and able to feed themselves, basically, in order to win those types of cases, or severe medical disabilities. And that case bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't lose a lot, maybe because I try to vet the case as much as possible.
Yeah.
That case bothers me. His fiance at the time didn't stay with him. She just recently came back and hired me. And I was like, man, we didn't win that case. She's like, you did an incredible job. We would definitely, that made me feel good, I guess. But that's a case that stuck with me because he didn't cross the border. His parents brought him, and his driving while licensed, no other criminal convictions. And I wish he learned his lesson, but it's kind of unfortunate that the system is so unpredictable that depends on where you get transferred to will determine your livelihood, right? Will you get out? Will you get approved? Will you get a green card? Which is why they're transferring a lot of these folks from New York to Louisiana.
Yeah, and the judge, and it's unfortunate, and I 100% resonate with everything that you just said. I mean, we have those cases, and the unfortunate thing is clients don't know how much you invest emotionally to plead an immigration case. Then you also have the people who think immigration is just filing paperwork.
Dude.
And anybody can do it. A notary can do it.
Well, I tell you, there's a case, I pulled a rabbit out of a magic hat, and I like call the client, scream, look can you believe it? Overturned your fraud accusation. Did this, and now you have a green card. Well, I paid you to do this.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you get a 1-star review because it took too long to come in the mail.
1-star reviews are the favorite for people who don't want to pay a consultation fee.
Yes.
Don't get me started, Sekou. All right.
Leslie's here laughing because we get those.
I had a lady. Sorry, this lady's been emailing me for a month.
Yeah.
You're not answering my text messages. I don't text a potential client, and I'm like, something's going on. And we had a couple fake Nayef Mubarak Facebook pages pop up. So she's saying I paid you for a demand letter, almost $1,000. And, I said, I don't have any cases that, for that amount, and I don't do demands. So I told Catherine to call her, see what's going on. Anyway, she's like, we think you're getting scammed by one of these fake accounts. She goes, the guy I paid on the phone was a different name than your law firm. And he also barely spoke English. And I just saw his social media and he speaks perfect English, but I sent the money anyways.
Oh my God.
So Catherine, my client coordinator, said, well, let's try to help you to report it. The lady hung up and left us a 1-star review, you know, and it's like the beauty of the internet now. Everybody's a critic. Everyone's allowed to do that. So then it is what it is. That's the emotional toll.
That is,
you know, your name with a 1-star review for something you didn't do.
And then there are the clients who complain that they never get to talk to the attorney, or the attorney never worked on their case. When, I mean, we had to build a firm. We had to train the team. We have to do the final review. And they expect gold every single time, even though they still got approved and they still complain. Which is, I mean, that is the emotional toll.
I think what I've been doing with that now, that used to really bother me. Now I spend so much time with expectations. Like, hey, you're not going to hear from me for 6 months. This case is filed. Check your case here. But please don't, I cannot do anything, move heaven and earth. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that used to really bother me. I used to get really worked up with clients who would, you know, say nasty things and you're just trying to help them. But I've got like a business coach, feels like a therapist. And I just kind of bitch myself for a little bit. And I think it's helped. But, you know, we do what we can, and people, when they freak out on my team and our other attorneys and try to, hey, this person's life is literally hanging in the balance and they're really stressed out, and whether it's correct or not, they're taking it out on us. But and I usually tell them, like, hey, like, I know you're stressed out and that's it, but sometimes not enough.
I had a meeting with my team and I told them, I was like, listen, we talk to hundreds of people each week, right? And in one day, we may be talking to 20-something people about their case. So it's easy to go through. But then that one person, you're the first and only person.
You're the only person.
You're the only person you're talking to that day. So a lot of times we have to really absorb a lot of that frustration and hate that we get, and still try to be empathetic, even though you have the ones who will push. You're doing 1,000 things on their case, and I won't even go down that road.
You know, between the Trump administration executive orders and Mercury retrograde, according to my office, like that, everyone's losing their minds sometimes. So my office manager is big on that. She's like, hey, just so you know, Mercury's in retrograde, Mercurio, and that's it. It's get ready. And she's always right. And I don't know if she puts it in the air or what, but we get those clients freaking out.
What do you think about the whole, or how do you weigh profit versus ethics, right? You have a lot of firms out there where just get cases and they just churn it out, especially now where immigration is hot, right? And you have the firms that get cases and they just churn it out. Where do you think that balance falls between providing great representation versus reducing the amount of clients that you see?
I'm not a religious person, but I say, man, I thank God that I'm able to make money and help people. It's like we're doing good work, and we get to get paid for it. And I'm not, but I also make it very clear, I'm not nonprofit, right? So we are here to work. I think for me, we kind of have an idea of how many hours we're going to spend on the case. We know what it's going to take, and it's not just filing it. How many times I'm going to speak to this person? And, but as long as my whole vision when I started the firm was 15 years ago, I think, and I know this is a long answer, but I'm going to get there. Right? So 15 years ago when I started practicing, I noticed that maybe people unintentionally were not giving immigrants respect, even their attorneys. You would see them in waiting rooms, waiting hours, waiting weeks, because it's like, what are you going to do about it? Right. You know? And I was like, I want to give, when I go to a high-end restaurant and they offer me like a little wet napkin, or I want to make it a nice experience, like I was making sure that we offer them this. And that takes the ability to charge a little bit higher, and take a little bit less cases.
Yeah.
I'm not the attorney at the courthouse yelling my client's name. It's because I've never met them.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've had a
we're gonna talk. I want to keep it boutique. So I think there's nothing wrong with profit.
Yeah.
And I will charge the same if I have a really big YouTube person and somebody who's a regular person. You're gonna get the same fee.
Exactly.
Because I know what we're doing, but I'm not going to charge lower. And I think the reason why those attorneys back in the day, we used to see them looked like a clinic of just dozens of people waiting to see somebody, was because there was the mindset, in order to do immigration law successfully, you had to have 1,000 cases at $1,000 a pop.
1,000%.
And even with my large firm where I started, when they brought me on, there was 2 immigration lawyers. They were upset with the head of partner. We don't need another lawyer. We don't need somebody else to, break bread with.
Yeah.
And we need more paralegals. There was the mindset that have high volume.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. And especially not true anymore. You need to have a personal relationship. There's things you discover with your clients when you have conversations with them.
Yeah.
And if you start missing things, or if it starts getting overwhelming, it's time to hire.
Yeah.
But as far as profit, nobody's here. Nobody works for free. I remind my clients of that too.
Yeah.
You don't work for free.
Correct.
I don't work for free. A couple of people who really, really need it, we'll put you on a payment plan, or we'll do it pro bono if it's a victim of domestic violence. But everybody's here to work, make money, take care of themselves and their family.
Absolutely.
And that's how I balance that, I guess.
And I know you do quality work. So I was doing a consultation recently. Actually yesterday. And I was telling the lady the price. Sophia remembers, and she was yelling about the price. And I said to her, there are other more economical alternatives. And she's like, why do you charge that much? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's not the highest in the market. But this price is based on the quality of work that myself and my team puts in. Yeah. Right? I remember my firm is completely different now than it was 5 years ago, because I only want the best people in the firm. Why? Because I want my clients to get that experience of a quality boutique law firm. I mean, we turn down cases because we don't want the huge numbers, right?
That's the idea.
But that's on one hand, but then there's the other hand where you have the notaries and people who are doing these cases from their houses, even sometimes charging more than us, and they'll go to somebody's house. Yeah. Well, somebody who doesn't have a website, somebody who you can hear.
Where do you want me to start with that?
You can hear the rooster crowing in the background while you're doing a consultation.
I think, unfortunately, in our communities, and any community where you have people who trust, they come from their home country, somebody's cousin's friend tells them this person can help you out. And there's a lot of trust that happens. So there are people take advantage of that trust for that. But the fees, when people complain, it's okay. Not everybody's for everybody. And I think people just gotta let them go and understand that everybody has different exceptions and circumstances. There's people who are lower who might be perfect fit for you. And I have no problem telling somebody, like, there's somebody I know who handles these cases day in and day out. Perhaps you should call them. Yeah. But I hope by now, I mean, I'm a little bit more practicing than you. I don't know if I'm older than you, but black don't crack. Yeah, you look great.
You clean that one on quick.
Yeah. So, my red flag radar for clients now, dude, I wish I had that when I was dating, right? The red flags with clients, you can know when somebody's not going to be a good fit with you. Right away. You know right away. And
literally, like, within minutes. And
don't ignore your gut. You're like, this is going to be a pass.
Yeah.
And that's fair. That's more fair to them than anything else, because you don't want to have a tumultuous relationship with somebody that you're going to be dealing with for a couple of years. So that's why I say, go have a few consultations, because if that lady was your first person she ever had, she could go talk to somebody else and realize you're not that expensive. So,
yeah. All right. So I did a video recently, right, from this podcast where I said, listen, in terms of immigration in the United States, I firmly believe that, look, the immigrants that are here, who have contributed to the society, who haven't committed violent crimes, they should get a work permit and they should have a path to some type of residency and then eventual citizenship. And there were two types of responses. I mean, of course, people are saying, yes, absolutely. If they're here working, they're already paying taxes, whereas immigrants paid over $3 or $4 billion in taxes.
Right.
They're the ones who said, yes, that should definitely happen. But then you have another set of people who are like, no, they came here illegally. Mind you, of those people who said that, no, they came here illegally, they're going to be the Latinos who are also immigrants, but no, they make over $50K.
Close the door behind you, immigrant.
Close the door behind you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Should there be an amnesty for immigrants?
So look, I said earlier, I'm not a open borders immigration lawyer.
Likewise.
Right? Nobody is. We need national security. We need rules and regulations. And the issue with amnesty, which you can see even like the Trump administration can successfully argue, is if you reward people with the ability to come here or the hopes and dreams that someday they'll be rectified status, the issue when you do an amnesty is then, is that going to create an influx of new people crossing the border? So it's hard because then we also have people who, like you said, are paying taxes, have no criminal history, have family, but for that one error, they cannot fix their status here. So in the old amnesty, they had to pay the penalty, right? And they had to meet qualifications. So it wasn't just willy-nilly anybody who crossed the border. They had family, they had no...
pay for an infraction.
You paid it like an infraction. So I think finding something like that would be a good balancing act, or fixing it the right way. Like you maybe finding solutions for all the people who are here that everybody agrees should be here. So it could be a very extended path to residency. We don't have to put them on the same 5-year path. If you want to penalize them, make it longer, have residency requirements, it's fine. But pretending the problem is not there is not a solution. Pretending we're going to deport the millions of people here is an unrealistic solution. It's not sustainable.
But what do you say to the American who's like, look, man, they came here illegally. They broke the law. They should not be here.
Right.
Let them go.
I would say people break the law and then they're usually released. It's not a permanent death sentence, right? So you match it with how big of the violation was it? Is that like, if you shoplift $50, is that worth, being life in prison? Are these crimes equal? Why are we looking at this as some black and white committing of a crime? Is a visa overstay a life sentence to separate somebody from their U.S. citizen children? Is that really common sense immigration? They violated the law, sure. You ran a red light. People do it. Doesn't mean you're getting sentenced to that high of a punishment. So I think something with some checks and balances, of course, it's very complicated. Not everybody's going to qualify. And we have to, if we are real about wanting reform, we have to find something that's going to, a lot of people might not make the cut. But a lot of people will. So you can say they violated, you can say they've never committed a crime because technically crossing, I think the border is not a crime.
It's a civil.
It's civil infraction. So I would say you're wrong if I want it to be difficult. But the idea is if we want to have conversations, understand where they're coming from and just give examples like, a small crime or infraction shouldn't be that severely punished.
And one statistic that I wanted you to highlight, because I preach it all the time, right? That you have more immigrants that come in and overstay and go into an undocumented status than you do have people who enter illegally. Should they be treated the same?
And how many of those are Europeans, right?
Exactly.
So
you have a lot of Europeans, a lot of Canadians that overstay.
My favorite is the Canadians like, what do you mean I can't work? I'm Canadian.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're not American. What do you mean you can't? What are you shocked about? But I think, there's, again, what is the agenda? If we're dehumanizing the people crossing from the border and they're less than the people overstaying, but to be devil's advocate, at least the people who overstayed, we know who they are. They've been vetted. They've been issued a visa. The government has proof that they're here.
That's a good point.
Right? So it's a little bit more for security, where if the border is as porous as they're saying it is, we don't know who's coming here. We don't know what drugs are coming here. So the only way to move forward again is to actually have real conversation. Like that's a valid point, right? We don't know what's coming across the border sometimes. We also don't know, we do know who is coming on the visas, but why are we limiting the visa amounts for Europe and not South America, right? What is the agenda here?
History. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I would say, I guess.
Now, we definitely have to have a part 2 of this. I love this convo.
I know I talk a lot, man.
No, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Last question, your legacy. What do you want that to look like? What do you want to be remembered for?
I am a very cheesy hippie, so this is where the entrepreneur fades away. I want to be a good person, right?
Yeah.
I hope to have made as many people better. I hope in Islam, when you do good deeds, you get like reward. It's like documented, right? 1 point for Nayef, right? So I hope that maybe every encounter that we've had with somebody, if you've made their life a little bit better, Nayef made me laugh, he made me better, and I took care of my family, right? Yeah. That's ultimately what I want to do. I'm not like, I think that would be my legacy is I was always who I was as much as I could be.
Yeah.
If I didn't like you, I didn't do you wrong. That's okay. You don't have to like everybody and be a good person. I think when you look at all the religions and the rules, at the end of the day, it's like, don't be a shit person.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't cheat. Be honest. Make the world better. I think that's it. Honestly, I would like to make the world better. And as Palestinians, you have a hope that one day one person is going to change it. You're gonna taste that liberation, and you're gonna be able to go to your grandfather's house.
Wow.
That's it, That's deep. And I think you want that for everybody, and you appreciate with your clients the family separation. So I think just making people's lives better. If I did that, then I think I did it right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nayef, thank you so much for
coming. Thank you. Thanks, bro.
I appreciate it.